Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're taking a bit of a shortcut to understanding one of the most influential and I think surprising texts in human history. We've got a really fascinating stack of sources here to unpack, and our mission, as always, is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge and insight for you. We're diving into an ancient Indian epic known for its profound wisdom. And it all kind of kicks off in a place you might not expect for deep philosophy, a battlefield.
Yeah, it's really striking. What's fascinating here is how universal these teachings have actually become. Even though they started in this very specific, very dramatic, and, well, intensely personal situation, we'll explore the meaning, the backdrop, and, the core messages that still resonate so much today.
So get ready for maybe some aha moments. We're going to try and demystify the Song of God. That title alone is pretty powerful. Okay, let's unpack this. Right, so for many of you, the Bhagavad Gita might be familiar territory, but maybe you're new to it or just looking for a fresh angle. Our deep dive today is really about what makes the Song of God so enduring and maybe even a little surprising. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is this text?
Well, if we look at the bigger picture, it's actually not a standalone book. It's a really crucial section within a much larger Indian epic, the Mahabharata. Specifically, you find it in the sixth book, which is called the Bhishma Parva. It is made up of 700 verses, all originally in Sanskrit, and presented as a dialogue.
Okay, a dialogue. And what makes this particular dialogue so important? Who are the key players here?
So the conversation unfolds between Lord Krishna, who is revealed actually as the supreme being, and a warrior prince named Arjuna. And that itself raises a really important question straight away. Why is this profound spiritual teaching, this deep philosophy, happening between these two specific figures? Especially given, well, where they are.
Right, and this is where it gets, I think, really interesting. Our sources all point to the context. The battlefield of Kurukshetra, definitely not, a peaceful monastery garden for quiet reflection. What's actually happening there? What's the situation?
Arjuna, who's this incredibly skilled warrior, finds himself in just this immense moral and existential crisis. He's literally on the verge of this huge catastrophic battle. But the problem is he looks across the battlefield and sees he's faced with fighting his own relatives, his beloved teachers, his own kin on the other side. And this profound internal conflict, this utter turmoil, it leads him to just refuse to fight. He puts down his weapons.
Wow, so he literally drops his bow. That's such a powerful image, isn't it? Sort of surrender and deep sorrow. And it's fascinating how right there in that moment of complete despair, that's when the profound wisdom starts to flow. You might think you need peace for insight, but here it is, born right out of crisis. Is that like a central idea that insight comes from struggle?
Precisely. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. He's overcome by sorrow, by this ethical paralysis, really.
Yeah.
And it's exactly at this moment of intense despair, utter confusion, that Lord Krishna steps in, not just as a charioteer, which he was, but as this divine guide. And he begins to impart his teachings, and it just highlights the practical, the immediate relevance of this wisdom for, real life, real dilemmas.
So Krishna steps in with some serious wisdom. Our sources kind of boil it down to 7 main teachings that capture the essence of the Gita. Let's dig into these powerful ideas, starting with Dharma.
Right, first up is Dharma. Our sources explain this not just as duty in a simple sense, but performing your righteous actions without attachment to the results. It's about fighting for what's right, aligning with your purpose, but not for personal gain, not for the fruits of victory. And the real insight there, I think, is how this frees you up from that emotional roller coaster of success and failure. It lets you act with clarity, with integrity, whether you're, a warrior back then or just navigating a tough day at work now.
That idea of acting without attachment, that sounds deeply connected to how we sort of apply ourselves in the world. And this leads us right into karma yoga, doesn't it? Which I understand is often called the path of action. How do those two connect? What does selfless action really mean here?
Absolutely. They're very closely linked. Karma yoga really emphasizes that selfless action is the highest form of worship, in a way. It's quite a powerful idea by doing your duties with dedication. But crucially, without obsessing over the results, good or bad, you actually transform your work, whatever it is, into a kind of spiritual practice. Our sources suggest this path can really lead to inner freedom, regardless of your job or the outcome you get.
Okay. And for people maybe whose natural inclination is more towards faith and heart, there's Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. What does that path look like in the Gita?
Right. Bhakti Yoga is quite different. It's all about surrendering to God or the divine with pure love and devotion. It's a path that's really centered on faith, on that personal connection, and finding inner peace through, complete reliance on the divine. It suggests that sincere devotion, just on its own, can actually lead to liberation, regardless of your actions or even your intellectual grasp of things.
Interesting. So if bhakti appeals to the heart and karma yoga guides our actions, what about those who seek understanding through intellect, through wisdom? That's where jnana yoga comes in.
Correct. Jnana Yoga is the path of knowledge. It's focused on understanding the eternal nature of the soul and, well, the ultimate reality. It uses intellectual inquiry, discrimination. It's about self-realization, recognizing your true self beyond the temporary body and mind. This approach offers this kind of profound clarity, seeing through the illusions to what's fundamentally true underneath it all.
And that kind of deep intellectual understanding, it seems like it naturally leads us to the concept of the eternal soul. How does the Gita present this idea, our true nature, amidst all the impermanence of life?
Well, this teaching is really fundamental. It states that while the body is temporary, it changes, it dies. The soul, the Atman, is immortal, it's eternal. It's a core concept that gives you this much broader perspective on life and death. It's almost like realizing, you're the driver, not the car. The car might break down and get replaced, but you, the conscious essence, you continue. And understanding this is presented as key to overcoming the fear of death and finding real inner peace.
Okay, so if we understand the soul is eternal, how does that basic truth then lead into the idea of detachment? It sounds like it connects back to that emotional freedom you mentioned with Dharma.
It absolutely does. Detachment in this context means cultivating a state of equanimity, staying balanced, whether you succeed or fail, whether you gain or lose. It's about maintaining this inner stability, this peace, regardless of what's swirling around you externally. And the profound takeaway isn't about being cold or emotionless, not at all. It's about developing an inner core so strong that external events, no matter how dramatic, don't dictate your peace or hijack your sense of purpose.
Right. And finally, Krishna kind of culminates his teachings by revealing God's nature. What exactly does the Gita unveil about the divine presence and power?
Yeah, this is a pivotal moment. Lord Krishna explicitly reveals his universal form, this Vishwarupa, which is this stunning cosmic vision that basically encompasses all of creation. And he declares himself as the supreme being, the ultimate reality, the source and sustainer of all existence. It really emphasizes that the divine isn't just some external entity you pray to, but the very essence, the underlying consciousness and power that permeates and holds together the entire universe. It's a truly breathtaking revelation, inviting complete surrender and, well, understanding.
So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for us, thousands of years later? Our sources seem to distill the Gita's essence into a really powerful and surprisingly practical directive.
Yeah, I think the core message really boils down to this. Do your duty, your dharma, with your full effort. Act selflessly. Surrender your ego and your attachments to outcomes, and walk your path, whatever it is, with truth, devotion, and clear understanding. It's this remarkable fusion, isn't it? Practical action, deep inner knowledge, and spiritual surrender. And it all comes out of this moment of intense personal crisis. It really feels like a complete guide to living a meaningful life.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How can an ancient text born on a battlefield amid just unimaginable conflict offer so much guidance for navigating the complex challenges of modern life? Maybe consider this. What battle are you facing right now? It might not be Kurukshetra, but perhaps there's a challenge where performing your duty with detachment, maybe letting go of the ego a bit, and walking your own path of truth. Maybe that could transform your struggle into a profound learning experience, perhaps even a pathway to some kind of liberation. This has been another deep dive. We hope you feel a little more well-informed, maybe a little more intrigued, and perhaps ready to explore your own path of knowledge.